Now, I am absolutely delighted for this week's Spotlight to be joined by Chef Noor Murad, who's just released a very personal cookbook inspired by her many years growing up in Bahrain. Noor, thank you so much for chatting to us here at Showcase.
Thank you for having me.
Lugma is your first solo cookbook. It's absolutely beautiful. It not only offers recipes, but also very personal stories to you. Let's start with the title. What does it mean?
So Lugma in Arabic means a bite, and it's quite common in the Middle East to eat with our hands, especially the big rice dishes, in Bahrain especially. And people will often say, oh, can I make you a lugma? And it's definitely something that is quite intimate in between like family members, friends. And if someone hands you a lugma off their plate, someone hands you a bite from their hand to your hand, it is like a form of love. Lugma for me is a very personal cookbook. It's about growing up in Bahrain. Bahrain is the island that shaped me, that raised me, but it's also about straddling two worlds. My mom is English and my dad is Arab. I always like to kind of mix my East and my West in all aspects of my life, but especially in my food and in my cooking, which is reflected in the cookbook. There's a Middle Eastern bolognese, because my mom always, made like a bolognese sauce. There's a tuna jacket potato, but like Middle Eastern style.
Really?
So
brilliant.
there is a bit of that kind of like my East and my West in all of it.
How do you make a tuna jacket potato Middle Eastern?
I made this like spicy tuna sauce. So like sauteing loads of onions and garlic, a bit of spices, adding in tomato paste and the tuna, and kind of putting that on top of a baked potato. With some yogurt and like spring onions and herbs. So it kind of completely transforms the iconic British tuna jacket potato. I hope I'll be forgiven. But it is really delicious, so don't knock it until you try it, is all I have to say.
I'm sold, Noor. I'm
Thank
sold.
you.
I will never go back to the traditional jacket potato. So talk to us about your childhood surrounded by this fusion of food. When did you know that you were passionate about the kitchen and food?
Well, my mom says my first word was food.
Really? That's brilliant.
So I think it was probably came pretty early, Bahrainis are eaters. Like, we love our food, and everything is about like gathering at the table. All the events are like food centered. So I think, and I was always very curious. I always was like, my mom is a really good cook, and she'd always be in the kitchen experimenting, and I'd always want to help her and get stuck in. So yeah, my journey into food started very early. I was only 16 when I got my first like summer job in a kitchen. My dad was kind of like a bit of like Arab dad, like, are you sure you want to be a chef? You could be a doctor or a lawyer, kind of. But then now he's like, ironically, my biggest cheerleader. And
very proud, I'm sure.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Food from the Gulf, what makes it stand out and how is it different? Because it's not quite as recognized or known, is it?
Yeah, I always say that like, the whole Middle East is such a diverse region. Like, it can never be just colored with one brush. It is so colorful, it's so diverse. There's so much in terms of culture and history and food, but people don't know too much about the Gulf region. I think foods of the Levant are probably a lot more popular, hummus, shawarma, falafel, and that's great. They're hard hitters, they're great, they're crowd pleasers. But I really wanted to push like other foods that are a bit lesser known. And I think Bahrain especially is quite interesting because it's this very tiny island. If you look at a world map, you probably can't even see Bahrain because it's just like this tiny dot. But throughout history, it was an important center of trade, a really important seaport that people would come through. So, and because it's such a small island, its food is really influenced by the surrounding countries. So it really pulls on other kind of influences. The three big flavors, I think, are Arabic, Indian, and Persian flavors that kind of like mash together to create this unique Bahraini cuisine. Yeah. So really spice heavy, and also quite spicy too, like big grand rice dishes, slow cooked meats, loads of herbs, like sour flavors. So yeah, it is kind of just such a unique cuisine.
And I couldn't help noticing this bowl of what I believe to be black limes.
Yeah.
Is that a very important ingredient
it
to
is.
you?
Oh
and
my gosh. It is the most important ingredient. So black limes in Bahrain, we call them Loomi Aswad, but they're also known as Loomi Omani or Loomi Basra. They're used throughout the Gulf and in Iran and Iraq, and they are the backbone of our cooking. Basically, they are these limes that have been dried out in the sun until they're completely hollow.
Oh wow.
They come in
Can
different.
Can I see?
Yeah,
how hard they-
absolutely.
So I expected them to be squidgy, but they're actually rock hard.
Completely, yeah,
So
completely.
what do you
rock
do
hard.
with that? How do you cook
Well,
with that? When
you would press it against the table with your hand to open it if you wanted to. And you would just take out the seeds. The seeds are quite bitter. So what you could do is you could blitz it to make a marinade. The flavor is unmatched. Like you cannot just substitute it with fresh limes. Right. Fresh limes are like zingy, fresh. This is like bold, earthy, bitter flavor.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you, so thank you very much. But I can't let you go, of course, without trying some of this food that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
What do we have here?
So this is a pistachio cake. Yeah, I just wanted to do some form of, obviously we love pistachios in the Middle East, and I wanted to do a two-tiered cake. The icing is made with labneh, which is a type of strained yogurt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the topping is made with kataifi. It's like a shredded phyllo, kind of, and it's used a lot to make different baklawas and stuff like that. There's lots of cardamom and cinnamon in there. So yeah, in the bowls is madrooba. So madrooba in Arabic means beaten. So basically it's a big pot of chicken and rice, tomatoes, herbs, spices, and a lot of water, and then you just kind of let it cook for some time, and then you beat the whole mixture. So it needs a bit of muscle work until you can't really see the rice grains anymore. Something that we really eat a lot during Ramadan because it's very satiating, it's easy on the stomach, and yeah, you can eat quite a bit of it.
Well, it smells absolutely delicious. It looks divine. Please, can I try some now? Noor?
Of course you can. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Noor. Absolutely delicious, Noor. Thank you so much. We've loved having you here on Showcase, and best of luck with your book.
Thank you so much.